Hello everybody and thanks for logging on and viewing the video. I would like to say thank you for everyone that has been following me and following my work for the last 20 years. I didn't think it necessary after the first PowerPoint presentation, which is a video prior to you hearing this and seeing the equation. So I thought the equation was the most important aspect of what's going on here. And what I did is I decided to use the verbal recordings just to explain some of the documents that were uploaded to Scribe, to UrbanAnthony.com, and to various other places on their internet site. Now, the issue that has been predominating in the society today is the issue of religion or God, or whether you believe in God or don't believe in God. What the equation establishes is not so much your belief or whether you should believe in God or creation or whether you don't. What it actually does is quantify the existence of creation. In other words, it has been said in the past that God or the Creator is omnipresent everywhere and is everything. So, what the equation actually does is separate that which is the sovereignty of God, that is which God has dominion over and power over and his reign, versus that which man has created. Or if you're into the scriptures or if you read the Bible, etc., it would have to do more with the circumcision. The circumcision being that which is cut away symbolizes that which is dead versus that which is that was established, that was cut away from, is what we would call creation, or what we would call the sovereignty of God. And after this event or this understanding, there is no more oneness. It actually becomes a divide or a chasm, so to speak. It is actually two different elements, and one composed of the, we'll say, the major, that being God, versus that which was cut off being, let's say, the thrown away, the dead. So we'll say the actual establishment of the sovereignty of God will be the light or the life, versus that which is circumcised away, which is the dark and the death. Once you understand this, then we can go on and view the actual equation, which is affinity U is greater than, and then you'll have 2, you have bar, C bar, which is less than or equal to affinity U, or U affinity. So basically what the equation is saying is that the sovereignty of God or creation exists without man, and in the inverse, the mankind exists without God. So the atheists have been partially right all the time, because when you look at the time that we're existing in, which is the second third of the equation, it is basically the time of man. So under the time of man, as mankind is under the rule of his own will. Now this will is chosen by man, but in the alternate, mankind also has the choice to be ruled under the sovereignty of God. So if you choose the sovereignty of God, then you're not walking in what they would call the world of mankind, sin, lust, and these other things, because under affinity U, the principles that are predominant in the society today don't exist. And we'll continue with the next episode. Okay, everybody, thanks once again for logging on and viewing the work. And I'd like to say special thanks to those who follow me on UrbanAnthony.com and Scribe.com. This recording actually has to do more with Urban and the equation and affinity U versus the two bracket C and U affinity. So we're going to start with the antivolt. Excuse me. I think that we'll start with the antivolt because the antivolt will signify basically what the sovereignty of Urban or was considered creation. As you see on your screen on the video here, that the equation has to do with the place where light ends and darkness begins, or where darkness begins and light ends. But what we state in the formula of the equation is that the light and dark exist on the same point. Now this is separate and different from what most people think, that you have darkness and you have lightness and it's over here and it's over there. No. What I'm actually saying is that the equation established that light exists where darkness is not, and darkness exists where light is not. There is no gray area, and unlike Einstein, who measures the speed of light, or maybe I don't know if his equation deals with the distance of light, but it does deal with relativity and light and those kind of things. And that's a physical property. Now what we're dealing with here is a spiritual property, or as some would say, as if you read the paper that I wrote on quantum theory, the possibility of multiple realities existing at the same time. And if you read that paper, you pretty much know where I stand. But getting back to the antivolt, in the equation where you see affinity U, there is no vote, because affinity U establishes that God is sovereign, or creation is sovereign, and it exists irrespective of man existing. And so we go about that as being, we go into the vote as it exists in the second third of the equation. You see here 2C. In the second part of the equation with a vote. And what the vote symbolizes is your free will given by God, and you entrust that will by voting into the system, or into what we call, I guess you would call it the New World Order. That's what people are calling it now, but it's just voting. And basically what you're doing is you're allowing, or you're imparting your will to be someone else to speak for you, so to speak, on your behalf. So that's what you do when you vote. Now the most interesting thing, and what I stated in the very first YouTube video, is that the voting is just as it states in politics. It's make strange bedfellows. And what's interesting about it is we see Gaddafi. Now, most people think Gaddafi, as he's painted by the media, that he's a villain and most hated by his people in his country. And that seemed to be far from the truth. When the truth actually came out about Gaddafi, his people in Libya enjoyed a higher standard of living than Americans do. Like, say for example, they didn't pay for electricity. They were given marriage gifts from the government. They were given free land, and they didn't have to pay any taxes or anything like this. And secondly, Gaddafi falls on the infinity, you're part of the equation, and this goes outside of being a Muslim or not being a Muslim or being whatever religious faith you are, because in order to say that you exist on within the sovereignty of God, you have to apply the rules of creation. And Gaddafi, he was in line with this because he actually wanted to revert back the African nations to go back to the gold standard. Now, for those of you who understand the problem with that in the United States is that the United States has 380, 400 million people. The United States doesn't have enough gold to distribute it to its population and be fair about it. You would have chaos and anarchy if you try to implement this gold standard the way Gaddafi attempted to do in Libya. Now, he had more wealth per capita per person in his country, so his people would basically be more wealthy. They're not so dependent on the things that we're dependent upon. For example, the fuel that they put in their car costs 14 cents a gallon as opposed to $4.50 a gallon in the United States. So they got rid of Gaddafi, and I won't say they got rid of Gaddafi, but you could basically say that black people in the United States essentially helped Barack Obama, the president of the United States, get rid of Gaddafi. And when I say politics makes strange bedfellows, because I was listening to Minister Farrakhan, and he spoke so highly of Gaddafi and how, you know, there were brother Muslims and so forth and so on. But then Farrakhan votes for Barack Obama, and Barack Obama ends up killing and assassinating Gaddafi, displacing the government. And all I was saying, and if you read any of my op-eds on that, was that that's what kind of friend is that you would have, that you call your friend but you vote to kill your friend. And that's primarily what I was saying on that issue. Now, as far as Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton on the black leaders in the community or so forth, as a black man in this country, I never perceive or accept Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton as a my leader or anything like that. Sure, Barack Obama, you know, the president of the United States, but I don't see him as someone representative of my values. As I said, I prefer to be on the first third of the equation, as opposed to where they're taking the country of the world and the second part of the equation there. So no, I don't particularly care for them as being considered leaders in the black community. There's so many different values that black people have, you know, and we're all not the same. And I don't. And given their track record, even if you go back to King assassination with Jesse Jackson, and by the way, I think this guy Coakley, or I think that's his name. It's on YouTube. I saw the video where he did a piece on Jesse Jackson, and I thought it was very interesting. And I'll leave it at that. So you could check it out yourself. And